Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber hears testimony of a civil party, that is to TCCP 1040. Mr. M. Hoy, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Grafji. Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present, except the lead co-lawyer for civil parties, who is absent for personal reasons. Mr. Nguyen Chia is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his rights to be present in the courtroom. His waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness who is to testify today, that is to TCCP 1040, is present in the waiting room to be called by the chamber. We also have a reserved witness to TCW 1029, who confirms that through the best knowledge and ability, the witness is not related by blood or by law to any of the two accused, that is Nguyen Chia and Khieu Samphan, or to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. The witness will take an oath before the Iron Club statute this morning. Thank you. President, the chamber now decides on the request by Nguyen Chia. The chamber has received a waiver from Nguyen Chia, dated 17 August 2016, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to be present at the 17 August 2016 hearing. He advises that his counsel advised him about the consequence of this waiver, that in no way it can be construed as a waiver of his rights to be tried fairly, or to challenge evidence presented to or admitted by this court at any time during this trial. Having seen the medical report of Nguyen Chia by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 17 August 2016, which notes that Nguyen Chia has a chronic back pain when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information, pursuant to Rule 81(5) of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nguyen Chia his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. The chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nguyen Chia can follow. That applies for the whole day. Court officer, please usher civil party through TCCP 1040 into the courtroom. Before we commence hearing testimony of the civil party, the Chamber notes that this civil party has been interviewed in the ongoing investigations in a separate case. The International Co-Investigating Judge placed the civil party in Group A amongst the three groups in his memorandum. Please refer to document E319/35. He also requests that this civil party shall be referred to by a pseudonym in order to protect the confidentiality of the investigation. The Chamber is of the view that such conditional measure is appropriate in this instance, and that this instruction shall take into account the balance between the public proceedings and the integrity of such investigation. And the Chamber wishes also to inform the parties that they should strictly adhere to its instruction, that is document E319/7, in terms of using disclosures from other cases. Good morning, Mr. Civil Party. In the proceedings before this Chamber and pursuant to the request by the International Co-Investigating Judge, you shall be referred to only by your pseudonym, and your pseudonym is True TCCP 1040, and parties shall refer to you as a civil party. And this means that the Chamber will not allow parties as well as judges of the bench to refer you by your surname or your first name in these public proceedings. And Mr. Civil Party, the Chamber would like you to confirm your identification in document E3/9467 at the Khmer EN 00955746, English 00978749 and French 01033002. Court officer, please hand the document to the civil party for his examination. And civil party, please refer to the segment highlighted in orange, namely your name, your nationality, date of birth, place of birth, occupation, the name of your father, the name of your mother, and your wife's names, as well as the number of children, whether they are correct. And please respond only to the limit that whether it is correct or not. Civil party, it is correct. President, thank you. Have you been interviewed by investigators from the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges? If so, how many times, when, and where? Answer. I was interviewed twice. Questioned. And where? And please observe the microphone. You should speak only when you see the red light on the tip of the microphone. Answer. I was interviewed once at my home, and I was interviewed on another occasion at a neighbor's house. President, thank you. And before you appear, have you read or reviewed the written record of your previous interviews with OCIJ investigators in order to refresh your memory? Answer. I've read them once. However, I can only recall parts of the interview. President, thank you. And based on your recollection, can you tell the Chamber whether the written record of your previous interviews that you have read through in order to refresh your memory are consistent with what you told the investigators? Answer, yes, they are consistent. President and Mr. Civil Party, you are invited to testify today as a civil party in the proceedings before this chamber. And towards the conclusion of your testimony, you are entitled to make a statement of harm and suffering that were inflicted upon you during the Democratic Cambodia regime, if you wish to do so. And pursuant to Internal Rule 91B of the ECCC Internal Rules, the Chamber hands the floor first to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties to put question to this civil party. And you have one court session to question the civil party. You may proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to all of you. It is our colleague Hong Kim Soon who is going to put questions to the civil party this morning. Thank you.
President, lawyer for civil parties, you have the floor. Soon. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honors, and good morning, everyone. My name is Hong Kim Soon. I am a lawyer for civil parties from Cambodian Defenders Project. And good morning, Mr. Civil Party. I'd like to ask you some questions regarding your experience during the Democratic Cambodia regime, that is from 17 April 75 to 6 January 79. And if my question is not clear, please say so that I can rephrase it. Before the liberation of Phnom Penh or Cambodia on 17 April 1975, what did you do and where did you live? Answer, good morning, Mr. President. And allow me to respond to the question. Before the Liberation Day of 17 April 1975, I was a soldier. And I was in Koh Kai village, Levi Am district, Kandar province. Questioned. You said you were a soldier. Were you a soldier in the liberating zone, or you were a soldier belonging to the Lonal government? Answer. I was part of the Liberation Army that was formed by Samdech Sihanouk. And we were fighting against soldiers who were transporting logistics by the river into Phnom Penh. Question: and after the liberation of Phnom Penh, that is after 17 April 1975, where were you, or where was your unit based? Answer: after Phnom Penh was liberated, my unit was still at Koh Kaev. That is near National Road number 1 in Koh Kaev area. That's where we were based. Question: when you were at Koh Kaev, that is after the liberation of Phnom Penh, were you still a soldier or you already became a civilian? Answer: our weapons were gathered and stored in a warehouse, and they said that our fighting against the enemy was lively. However, construction of the country needed to be done as well, and for that reason we were asked to work in the field in Koh Kaev. Question: can you clarify through the chamber what your unit was called? Answer: I was attached to a military unit 148 belonging to the East Zone. Question: while you were a soldier, did you know the name of the chairperson of the East Zone? Answer: I heard my unit chief said that it was Sao Phum who was the zone secretary. Question: can you briefly describe your work assignments after the liberation of Phnom Penh? That is for the period between 1975 and 76. Were you transferred from Koh Kaev area? Answer: after the liberation in 1975, my unit was stationed in Koh Kaev, and we worked in the fields, that is in the plantation. And later on, however, I cannot record the year because there was nothing for me to refer to. There was no calendar. I was transferred to Prevang province. There, I was tasked to dig canals, to build road, and to build dike systems in a work site called Vil Kasitan in Previn province. And later on, I was tasked to move to the west part of the Previn province to Waterville in dry season rice fields. So I had to drive the water wheels from the lower part upward, and then from the second layer or section, then I had to water wheel to the top part. I was tasked to build canals to make roads in the area, and our food ration was limited. Only 3 cans of rice were provided to about 100 workers. Council interrupts. My apology, Mr. Sivapati. You said you were part of a mobile unit to build dikes into water wheel. Can you tell the chamber whether that mobile unit was a civilian or a military one? President, Mr. Sivapati, please observe the microphone. And I was in the same military unit. Council, thank you. You said that there was no calendar or any specific instrument to refer to in terms of the date and year. And allow me to refer to your previous interview by the court personnel. And here I refer to document E3/9467 at the Khmer year and 0095574849, and in English is 0097875223, and French 01033004. And allow me to quote an excerpt from that statement. There is in a response number 22. My apology, it was in the response 15. And I quote, later on, in around July or August in 1978, the party committee of Sao Pum agitated us to rearm by withdrawing us from that work site. Sao Pum was the zone secretary there. I joined that movement in order to fight the Khmer rules. Sao Pum arranged for me to be positioned along National Road 15. The Khmer Rouge soldiers came from the southwest and the west to surround the east zone. End of quote. And Mr. Sivapati, here you refer to the Khmer Rouge soldiers from the southwest and the west zone. And what was your unit or group called? Answer. My military unit was called the National Liberation Army. That's what we were referred to at the time. Question. And was your unit referred to? Was it before the liberation of Phnom Penh or after you were transferred to live in Prevang province? Answer. The term National Liberation Army had been used since the year of the coup d'etat to topple Samdech Sihanouk in 1970. Question. Now let me go back to an excerpt that I just read out. When you stated that Salpam agitated your groups to rearmed, can you tell the chamber what were the reasons behind such call by Salpam to rearm your group? Answer. After Salpam came to be aware that the southwest and west soldiers came to surround the soldiers in the east zone, and soldiers from the southwest and the west were transported to a surrounding area, that is through the border area in Svay Rieng, and commanders had been arrested. That is, the division commanders had been arrested, and for that reason he agitated our unit to gather all the available forces, including those who were in hospital, as well as the new recruits who were still being trained at an office 200 in the east zone, to join hand in that movement, because he said that the soldiers from the southwest and the west zone came to kill all soldiers in the east zone. Question. Regarding the gathering of available forces and the rearming of soldiers, can you tell the chamber when it happened and where? Answer. It took place near Mae Bon Bridge along National Road number 5, and that was part of Prevang province. At that time, Salpam came by himself to agitate the movement amongst the soldiers on the ground. Question. Did you see Salpam in a person at the location where you said he agitated the force? Answer. I saw him and I met him once at that location, and previously I only heard of his name. I saw him when it was almost in the late evening. He came to agitate the movement in the area. Question. Allow me to go back a little bit. Before Salpam came to agitate the force, did it happen after the Khmer soldiers from the southwest and the west came to surround the east zone soldiers? Answer. It was after the arrival of the southwest and the west soldiers. Question. You use the term agitation, or that your unit was agitated, and not only your group but also other people, including those forces at the hospital, can you tell the chamber whether the people or the forces, that is your forces, volunteered to rearm? Answer. During the regime, there was no such thing as a volunteer. We had to undertake the assignment that was forced upon us. We were soldiers on the ground and we followed orders. Question. Regarding the forces or people or staff who worked in the hospital, and that they were rearmed, as well as those who work at this so-called Sala Saw. And can you tell about this latter group? Who were they? Answer. Sala Saw group was the youth group who had been recruited from various regions to come and attend the study at the provincial town.
Question. After they were equipped or after the forces were mobilized, how long did it take to involve all those people into the fighting? Answer. After the forces of the West and the Southwest surrounded us for a period of 1 week, and after we were agitated through the leaflets from the air, we were encouraged to be engaged in the activities with them. However, we did not join them, and we remained at our locations respectively. Question. Could you tell the court what happened after that 1 week? Was there a rebellion or was there a fighting at the time? Answer. After that 1 week, the forces of the West and Southwest were engaged in the attack at that location. Question. I would like you to clarify the location which you have just mentioned. What was the name of that location? Answer. That location was at Melbourne Bridge, and it was on National Road 15. Question. Concerning the surrounding of your forces by the Southwest and West forces, where did that happen? we were surrounded right in the provincial town of Prey Veng. That is the location of the east. Lawyer, thank you. I would like to ask you another question. You made mention about the advanced attack by the Southwest and West forces. Was there fire exchange at the time, or was there heavy shelling? How did it happen? Could you clarify that for the court? Answer. During the time they were engaged in the advanced attack against our forces and other units around provincial town of Prey Veng. There were tanks, there were airplanes dropping leaflets, and there were infantry. The arsenals or heavy weapons and shellings, firing were shot from the tanks and other equipments. And as for people and my forces who were posted at that location, we were killed. Then I left the location. I fled to another location with other forces and units, as well as institutions and regions from the Prey Veng province that is in the east zone. Lawyer, I thank you very much. I would ask you later about the various units that you were playing with. You made mention about the leaflets thrown from the airplanes. What was the content inside those leaflets? Answer. Mr. President, after I had fled out of the battlefield, I picked up a leaflet which stated and encouraged all the people and all forces, as well as civil servants in the East Zone, to surrender with the West and Southwest forces. And we were told that we did not betray the nation. Only the ringleader Sao Pham and Yegaro, who was the wife of Sao Pham, and other senior officers betrayed the country. That was the content of the leaflet that I have read. Question. You stated that in the leaflet it was made mention about the fact that Sao Pham had betrayed the country or the revolution. What was it exactly stated in relation to the term treason by Sao Pham? Answer. Thank you, Mr. President. Sao Pham was accused that he was the instigator who encouraged a rebellion in the East Zone, and he encouraged others to fight against the Southwest and the West forces. Lawyer, I thank you very much. You made mention about the fighting during the time that there were tanks and airplanes or heavy shellings by the Southwest and West forces. During the time, did you witness soldiers or other people raise their hands and surrendered with those forces? Answer. Mr. President, the order was to counter fire against those forces. When we were fired, we had to be engaged in the counterattacks. At the time, I threw away the weapon and I fled because there was a large number of forces from the west and the southwest, and I had to run. The situation at the time was chaotic. Everyone was running this and there. And I did not know which soldiers belonged to which forces. And some other soldiers had to throw away weapons as well, and they had fled away from Prevailing province. I witnessed people died at the battlefield. People died from time to time. Lawyer, thank you. I would like to seek your clarification about the time when you had fled and you surrendered. You stated that people were killed at the time in a large number, and workers from the sewing unit and other units also died. Were civilians involved in the fighting at the time? Answer. Thank you, Mr. President. At the time, civilians from other institutions and units, together with their family members and children, had to flee. And all of them died, said the civil party, because at the time there was firing, heavy firing and shelling all across the provincial town. Question. How did you survive the shelling and the firing during the times when the West and Southwest forces were fighting? Answer. During the time of the advancement by the West and Southwest forces, when there was chant, I mean during the time that there was no heavy shelling and firing, we altogether had to take the opportunity and make an escape. That is how I survived. Lawyer, thank you. I would like to bring up a document in the same document that I quoted earlier, E3/9467 at EON in Khmer 009 55 750. English 009 78 754, and French 010 33 006. Allow me to quote your statement. Quote, the one who made a rebellion was shot dead by the Khmer Rouge, and they were placed in a pond near the pagoda, and those who had made an escape were rearrested by the Khmer Rouge, and those people were later on detained and interrogated. Some other were taken to Kampong Chnang to build the airport, and another group of people were shot dead at Busan. quote, unquote. I will break your statement down and put questions accordingly. You stated that you had fled to the eastern part of Prey Veng, and then you saw people were shot dead and then thrown into the lake or pond near the pagoda. During the time when you were playing together with a large group of people, how did you have the chance to see the dead people in the pond or lake near the pagoda? Answer. Thank you, Mr. President. After all the civil servants and soldiers from various units from government units had fled, we saw civilians died in the pond or lake in the eastern part of Prey Veng province. They were piled together near the lake that is in the east of the lake. Question. Were those people civilian or soldiers? And were there also children and patients from the hospital as well when you saw those people in the past? Answer. I noticed only soldiers died at that pond. Some of them were male and some were female. The dead bodies were lying at that location. There is the lake or pond. Lawyer, I thank you very much. Another point you made mention in your statement is about the fact that the people who had fled were rearrested by the Khmer Rouge. So where were they sent to after they were rearrested by the Khmer Rouge? Answer. After I had left the battlefield, I arrived at Rovihai district. Where we were arrested by the female militia and we were sent to Mesang district, Prey Veng province. Then we were detained there for a period of 1 week. During the night time, we were put in the house where was locked, and we were guarded by the security forces. And during the daytime, we were walked to dig the termite mound. Later on, the chief of Mesang District Security Prison made an announcement to all of us. And we were told that we were not traitors. They said we were the children of the regime, and the traitors were only Salpam and Yekaro. That is the principal, who were the principal traitors. And we were told that we could go back to our respective communes, districts, and provinces. So I had left the prison, interrupted by a lawyer. I would like to ask about the time before you were arrested. concerning the people who had been arrested at the initial stage, were they soldiers or were they civilians? And how many of them were arrested? Answer. I knew only 2 members from my unit at the time. I did not know other people. There were about 30 people altogether at the time, Mr. President. Lawyer. Thank you. You made mention about an individual by the name Ye Karo. Who was she? And how did you learn about Ye Karo? Answer. The chief of the security forces made a declaration that Ye Karo was the wife of Sao Pham. Question. During the fighting between the West forces and the East forces, did you see Ye Karo at the time? What was the role was she playing at the time? Answer. The head of the security unit said that Sao Pham had shot himself dead, and Ye Karo killed herself as well at Orang Au commune. And it was said that those people were disemboweled and grafts were stuffed inside the abdomen because they were traitors, as we were told. Thank you. Now I am asking about the time when you were detained at Amesang. You stated that during the daytime you were allowed to go and dig the earth. I would like to know about the conditions of the detention. Were you shackled or cuffed? And how was your clothing like? Answer. After they detained me, I was not shackled or handcuffed. I had only one set of clothes, and I had to wear the clothes during the time that I slept and during the time that I worked. I was locked inside the house. That is the prison. And as for the daytime, I was escorted to dig the termite mound and carry the earth to the field near the prison. Civil party, lawyer rather. I thank you very much. I would like to quote your statement. In document D 22/3863A, year and in Khmer is 00584803. English 011 94 873 through 74. Allow me to quote. I ran to Prevain, there where I was arrested and then detained at Mae Sang district for a period of 7 days. During the daytime, I was asked to dig the earth in the field and carry the earth to other field. And at night time, I was locked in the prison, full stop. After I left the prison for half a kilo, I was arrested at Gronyung Pagoda, and my hands were tied behind my back together with my colleagues. I was tied to the rope, and I was dragged behind the bicycle. I was beaten as well, and at the night time, my head was bleeding, and I was locked in the temple or vihir. Then I was interrogated. After the interrogation, all of us, 16 of us, confessed that we had attacked their forces, and some of those, in fact, my members, my colleagues, confessed that they had attacked their forces, and then they were tied up to the coconut tree. For me, I did not confess, and later on I was released. I would like to ask about the statement that you have made. You stated that you could make an escape later on as well, and then were rearrested. So what was the reason of your arrest? Answer. During the time, I was still in military uniform. The Khmer Rouge had tactics, a lot of tactics. And at the time that we were told to go back to our own and respective commune, district, and provinces, I, together with my colleagues, left the prison. And after I had left the prison compound, about 50 meters, there were 10 soldiers coming toward us, and they were equipped with AK rifles. They pointed their rifles at us. There were around 30 of us at the time. I could not recall the exact number of us while we were playing, but there may have been 30 of us. And in the group, I knew only 2 members. When they came to us, I mean those forces, they pointed at the rifles at us in the west of Gronyung Pagoda, and we were walked to the north of the forest. And after we arrived at the pagoda or the Vihir temple, we were told to go up into the temple, and we were tied up. They called us out, 2 of us at a time. We were blindfolded, and our hands were tied up behind our back. And others were waiting inside the temple. During the time, we did not know where we were facing to, since we were blindfolded. Some of our members were hit with the rifle butts because we will walk into different direction other than the northern side that they wanted us to go. My memory is not good, but what I can recall is that I was hit about. I was hit by the rifle butt about 10 times before I reached the location where they wanted us to go. Lawyer, you stated that you were blindfolded and walked to a temple in a pagoda. Do you recall the name of the temple or the pagoda? Which commune, district, or province was that pagoda or temple located? Civil party. Thank you, Mr. President. After I was told to go up into the temple and was hit. In fact, I did not know the location of that temple or pagoda. I do not know which commune or district the temple or pagoda was located in.
And allow me to continue my response a bit further. They began beating me again, and we were interrogated while we were beating in a straight line. They use a lot of tricks in order for the forces to confess to what they wanted. They said that if we do not confess, our throats will be slit at the pond to the west. And if we are all to confess, they would allow us to leave, and that we would be released. For me, I did not dare to confess because I knew that the Khmerus had many tricks in their head. And so they, as a last resort, would kill us. Because I observed, even when we broke a hole or we ate something which was not meant to be eaten personally, then we will be accused of being a traitor. Question: you said that at the location where you were beaten and that where you saw people from your group were tied and shot near the pond. Can you describe that scene a bit further in detail? President, again, Mr. Sivapati, please observe the microphone. Later, we were instructed to get off the temple. Even our hands were tied behind our backs. They actually tied us in a straight line to a rope, and they pulled us behind a vehicle. And that happened in late afternoon. I don't know, maybe around 3 or 4 o'clock, since we did not have a watch to see. We were instructed to run after their bicycles, and of course we could not catch up with the bicycles. Then we were beaten with a club. I could not catch up with a bicycle, so they beat me with a club and cracked open my skull. It was bleeding. And I was so fatigued because that whole day I did not have any food to eat. Counsel interrupt. My apology, Civil Party, I do not have much time, and you may be asked questions by other parties as well. Can you tell the Chamber how you were free from that location? By what means did you use? Answer. By dawn, I arrived at a location. Their wife came to remove the scaffold and the hammock ropes that they used to tie us. Here I refer to the wives of those Southwest and Western soldiers. As for those 10 or so members who confessed, they were tied to coconut trees, and I could hear the sound of beating and later on sound of gunfires, and I presumed that they were shot. Later on, they said that we did not betray the nation and that we did not attack the soldiers. As for those traitors, those people who engaged in the treason were those who tied to the coconut trees. And I saw those who were tied to the trees died. I then left the area and I did not dare to walk along the main road. We were allowed to return to our respective provinces. While I was en route, I was hungry. I went to a kitchen hall and I begged for food to eat. I was given some food and I continued my journey to Svay Rieng, to the west side of Waiko River. By that time, my family had been evacuated from the west to the east side of the province. I was again arrested and put in prison after an overnight stay with my mother. I was put in a prison there in the Svay Rieng province. However, while I was on the way to that prison, we were intercepted and a fight broke out between the Vietnamese and Khmer's troops. There were soldiers on the grounds, there were tanks, and I was not yet in the prison, and I could hear that people who were detained there said out of 100 detainees, only one could survive. So after the gunfight broke out, we were again pointed with their guns and we were herded away from that location and made a trip to Svay Rieng provincial town. I went along with other people, including my mother and siblings, and I mean we were fleeing among other people. And then we arrived at the Prey Veng province. Thank you. Question. Allow me to ask you about one more matter that is in relation to your marriage. Can you recall when you were married and where was that? Answer. When I was in Chiang Mai village in Prey Veng province, that is crossing from Svay Rieng to Prey Veng province, at Prey Cho Cooperative, I was assigned to be in a mobile unit to dig a termite mound and to dig the dirt, and from the higher area and to use those dirt in the lower ground in the field. There was a woman in charge of 4 women groups. Each group consisted of 100 women. As for me, my name was on a record that I was a former prisoner, and for that reason I was subject to constant surveillance by the security force. And I had no idea about my name being implicated in my biography. However, somehow a marriage was organized at Preacher Cooperative in Prevang province. I was amongst the 60 couples who were organized for that marriage, and the ceremony took place one day. And they announced that my would-be partner was Kung Suphat. However, I did not know who she was because she was amongst the hundreds of women in the 4 women groups. And by the time we were called to present ourselves at the marriage ceremony in a kitchen hall near Prathita Pagoda, President, lawyer for civil party, how many questions do you still have? Lawyer, I have 2 areas to cover. However, I may only have 4 questions for the 2 subjects. President, you may proceed in that case. Counsel, thank you. Mr. Civil Party, in the interest of time, I will ask some sort of questions. Can you tell the chamber whether you made a proposal to the Khmer Rouge to marry that woman, Suphat? And did you fall in love with her? Answer. How could I have such feeling at the time? I myself was so exhausted. I was forced to overwork. For that reason, I did not have any feeling regarding this matter, let alone to marry a woman. However, it was there a plan that I had to get married. And of course, I was the target to be imprisoned, and for that reason, I did not dare to protest against any assignment. I would do whatever I was asked. Question. On another matter, you said that you were evacuated from Svay Rieng or Prevang to Pusat province. I'd like to ask you about your living condition in Pusat province. You stated that in late 1978 that a cow pen was organized and people were gathered there to be killed. Can you briefly describe about that particular event? Answer. After I got married, we were sent to Net Luang. Our belongings and properties had been removed from us, and we were allowed to go to board that boat, that is motorboat, only with some clothes only, and at Bamper we were given some clothes and a scarf, and that was for the purpose of easy identification. We were then put onto a train heading for Pusat province and got off at Bangkana station. Over there we were tasked to overwork. they actually searched us to make sure that we did not have any metal object or knife with us. A few days later, we were herded and placed in a cow pen. The pen itself was about 1 hectare in size. It was pretty large. We were treated like animals. We were herded like animals. And over there, they actually had some pork and cow meat. They made a propaganda drive that a big ceremony would be held there and that we would attend. We saw some loudspeakers displayed at the area. So there were many people who were herded into that enclosure. And actually the pen itself was built by a children group. They dug pits, and the area was enclosed with some tree branches, and there was only one entry and exit point. While we were in there, we saw their group equipped with clubs and knives. We were instructed to sit in rows and to bend our heads. And then they started to tie us one by one. And actually some of us tries to remove the tie, and some try to resist them and tries to flee away from the enclosure. However, outside there was another group. They were on horseback and they fight at those who tries to flee. And there were also another group of them on the ground surrounding the pen or the enclosure. I myself was fleeing, and luckily I did not encounter this group on horseback. I ran through forest, I ran through rice field, and hid myself. So I was lucky to flee from the pen, as the rest were not that lucky. Some were killed inside the enclosure, while others were shot dead while they were being fled. We could see that killings took place everywhere, and we, the people from the East Zone, were subject to be killed. Question, allow me to interrupt. So, how did you survive? Answer, I fled away from that enclosure, and I made other people who also survived from the ordeal. Then we together ran toward the Pusat province. By that time we did not dare to make our move during the daytime, but we only could move during the night time, since we were not familiar with the geographical location, and we could hear sporadic gunfight. And during the daytime we remained still, and we did not dare to make any move. Question, allow me to interrupt. What happened to you personally before you arrived at the Pusat province? Answer. Along the 10-day and 10-night trip, I came across some Khmer Rouge groups or some groups belonging to the commune. So I had to come across these two preparatory lines before I reached a location where I was recaptured and tied. I was starved, I was deprived of food, and they tied me under the baked sunlight at a place stop through the east of Pusata province. I was deprived of food and water, and they told us that we would be sent to another location. I almost died by that stage, that is due to the lack of food and the heat from the sun. Two of them then took us from that location, and when we were about 500 meters away from that location, we were in the middle of nowhere, because from what I observed, people never came to reside in that area. We were instructed to sit down, facing them, and of course they were about to cock their AK rifle and a pistol to shoot at us. Then I realized that we were about to be killed. But I did not know what happened. Maybe they were afraid that if they shot at us, then the blood might splash upon them. So they told us to turn our back toward them and ordered us to run. I began running, but by about 15 meters I fell down. I picked myself up and I ran again. And by about 5 meters away from where I fell, I was shot in my arm. And some small bones on my left arm were broken as a result. Lawyer, Mr. President, I still have 2 more questions. Maybe I like to take some time off the co-prosecutor side. President, if you still have 2 questions, you may continue before we take the break. Question. I have 2 questions to put to you as civil parties before we conclude. Besides you, who were the victims of the Democratic Cambodia regime, can you tell the chamber whether any of your relatives or siblings suffered? Answer. During the regime, my family members and my mother was separated into different groups. Those who could work would be sent to thresh rice, for example. Council interrupts. Allow me to interrupt. Can you tell the chamber whether any of your family members survived? Answer. My relatives and my mother, they all died. My cousins and other distant relatives also died. There were about 50 of my members altogether, close and distant, all died during the regime. And of course, every time I think of them, it reminds me of the suffering, and I feel so painful, and I did not want to return to my native village at all. Question. So you survive and you are by yourself. How do you feel for the loss of the mass number of your families and relatives? answer. At present, I feel the pain for the loss, for all the losses of my family members and relatives. And only my eldest brother, who lives in Busan, and he was lucky because his parents-in-law survived. But as for me, I felt so lonely and painful because I lost everyone on my side. Sometimes I have insomnia because of that. Sometimes my mind is not with me. I seem to get lost. And that's the result of the mistreatment I received under the regime, that I was imprisoned, that I was shot at, and that I was shot. And I felt so disappointed because I became a soldier to liberate the country, to join the resistance, but as a result I was tortured severely. Council, thank you, Mr. Sivapati, for answering my questions. I do not have any question for the Sivapati. However, my partner, my lead co-lawyer, have some question. I don't know, maybe she can make some arrangement with the co-prosecutors. President, we will have a 15-minute break.